Josh Wigler, why should people listen to this episode of Pod Friends featuring you?
They shouldn't. Just kidding.
What?
You should listen because it's fun.
What did we get into on the podcast?
We talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about cats. We talked about musical theater.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Wanda Shirk.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about Googly Eyes, the song of the winter.
All right. Yeah, we did. Okay, this is the end. We're ending it. I'm ending it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod Friends. My name is Matt Scott, and I'm your host. And I'm so thrilled to be back with another episode of Pod Friends. This is what our world needs. Conversations with real people, with real amazing people, and with real amazing people listening to those conversations that I have with some of the real amazing people who come through Pod Friends. And I'm going to call this a two-part finale. Move over, Survivor. This is part one of my season finale for Pod Friends, featuring an interview, a one-of-a-kind interview with the one, the only, Josh Wigler. And I'm so thrilled for this conversation. It's really special, and we share a number of special things. There's a song that Josh brought to the podcast, courtesy of Wanda Shirk. Check that out. There's a song that I brought to the podcast, courtesy of me and my nephew. And if you're tuning into Pod Friends, I guess you get these windows into our lives, and I hope you really enjoy, because there's so many Pod Friends firsts here. Not only the musicality of all of it going into this episode, dropping some original songs, but also this was the first time, and Josh and I talk about it in depth and we explain why, but this is the first time that this was actually the second recording that I did with someone. In other words, we recorded another episode. We recorded for a couple of hours, and well, you'll hear more about why we threw that out, why we had this conversation. Overall, it was so special to be able to connect with Josh so much and to dive more into his story on his terms. And I'm so proud of Josh. Like, I've always loved Josh, going back to when I first started listening to RHAP back in 2017 or so. And I think the gift, especially the gift of being able to record with him twice, was that we had an initial conversation, which was more about Josh's backstory, which so many people know. And then this one, we reference a lot of what we talked about there. We bring a lot of that up. But even more, this is about Josh Wigler today. And I'm so proud of the conversation we had. And I don't know about you, but I will talk with Josh Wigler any opportunity I get. So consider this part one of the Pod Friends season finale. Next week will be part two. And the main thing it will be featuring is voicemails from all of you. Go to speakpipe.com/podfriends. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I want you to leave a voicemail. I've talked about this on Pod Friends before, but the most special thing to me has been really meeting so many of you in person at RHAP as a podcast live shows and the like, and really knowing that there are people on the other end of this. But rather than me just knowing it and having those conversations about what you love about Pod Friends, what you love about a specific interview or interviewee on Pod Friends, what you love about just the concept or the idea or the vibes of Pod Friends and why it relates to you. I'd love to be able to show it and share it on the episode and give you all some love and shout out. So thank you to everyone who has sent in voicemails so far. Keep sending in those voicemails. There's still time. Speakpipe.com/podfriends. There's so much else that I want to say, but follow me at MattScottGW on all of the different platforms, and be sure to support RHAP on Patreon. Support shows like Pod Friends at patreon.com/RHAP. And you know what? Without further ado, let me get into my introduction for the one and only Josh Wigler. Making his way to the podcast from the Empire State of New York, you know him from Rob Has a Podcast and so many other great media platforms. He is a storyteller, a pop culture connoisseur, a Survivor superfan, a comic book aficionado, a movie buff, and a friend to the podcast community. He's got the hot takes, the humor, and the heart. And if you know, it's wiggle me this, wiggle me that. Please welcome the witty, the warm, the one of a kind, Josh Wigler. Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't want to do the thing. I was about to do the thing where I'm like, I'm so nervous. I haven't done that in like a year, so I'm not going to.
Who's the last person you were like actually nervous for?
Oh my gosh. I get a little nervous around for everyone.
Do you not want to call out a name? Because that's totally fine if you don't.
No.
Are you nervous to identify someone?
No, I think there's a little bit of like as we're leading up to it. Honestly, there's always a little bit of nervous energy for me going into Pod Friends, or there used to be nervous energy for me like anytime I'd be on a podcast, because I'm like, what if I just freeze up, forget what words are?
Totally.
I did it like that, like that could happen.
Yeah,
but I think at the end of the day, people understand, and this is a big thing for me that I found, is that ultimately, like, it's worked out so many times that I logically rationalize, like, for myself, not just with podcasting, but with life, where I'm like, okay, Matt, like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be great, actually.
This is wisdom.
Because it always is. It always is. That's my wisdom that I need to give to myself, though.
You are describing wisdom that comes with time. That comes with time and effort, and with triumph and tragedy. These things accumulate and get you to a place where I think like you have more. Because I think you could be very confident as like a really young person. So I'm not going to say it gives you like more confidence to be yourself. I think maybe I would say it gives you more earned confidence to be yourself. Like you've gone through things. The things have stacked like kids in a trench coat trying to sneak into a movie theater, except this time they believe in themselves and they're actually getting in. It's like, okay, Inspector Gadget comes to movies. We can let this guy in. It's like, kids, we get it.
Yeah, but you also don't want to be like overconfident at any point too. And I will say like something. I don't know where this came from, but somebody not too long ago mentioned to me like the difference between courage and confidence, and I even have like a little courage tattoo. I feel like I'm like trying to reference my little mini tattoos as a not tatted up person that often, but like it's courage off the what spot?
The Denise spots.
Oh,
yeah.
I feel like
what is it? Something and endure. I forget what the first one is.
Endure and let go.
Endure and let go. Okay. Yeah.
But I had one of them before Denise got her tattoos. So maybe she's inspired by me.
You. Yeah.
The other one I got after I was aware of the endure and let go, because I thought that was pretty cool. The double Denise, as they call it.
I love that. I'm still trying to figure out where my first tattoo is going to go.
What's it going to be? What's the tattoo going to be?
I cannot remember if you're a lost person at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
So folks know I'm a lost person. And
you are.
The consensus worst episode of Lost, even though Mike Bloom and I disagree with this being the worst episode of Lost, but the consensus worst episode of Lost is the one where we find out how Jack got his tattoos. because Matthew Fox had actual tattoos and it was incongruous with Jack Shepherd, the stoic doctor. Like, why would he have those?
Yeah.
So he gets made fun of about it in like the second or third episode of the show. It's the, I think it's like the fourth or fifth. It's when they go to the cave. They're going to the cave. House of the Rising Sun, I believe, is the name of the episode. Anyway, it's Stranger in a Strange Land is the episode where Jack's tattoos get explained. He goes in a flashback to Thailand, and Bai Ling puts tattoos on Jack, and the tattoos end up meaning he walks among us, but he is not one of us, is what those tattoos say. And that's what this woman, one of the others, said. Your tattoos, that's what they say. And Jack says, that's what they say. It's not what they mean. And then we never get any further elaboration on that ever. And it's just like one of those things that sounds deep but has no further depth. So anyway, I want to go to Thailand someday and get a tattoo that says Jack's tattoos phonetically in Thai characters. So that's my plan. I want Jack's tattoos in Thai characters written somewhere on my body, probably on my arm, but I don't know where. If I ever get a tattoo, that's the first one.
I will say, I feel like, some people I look at, like you, Josh, or someone who I could look at him like, does Josh have tattoos? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he had
what if I'm
a
bluffing?
Whole back tattoo.
Yeah, what if I've got like Ben Affleck Phoenix on my back?
Honestly, you
Rising.
might. I wouldn't be surprised. Or like, I could, honestly, with you, I could picture not a thigh tat, but like a nice little chest.
I'm a thigh
tattoo.
guy.
Like a heart. You would do a thigh tat.
Maybe. I don't know. Could.
I feel like
my legs are wonderful. I'm not like super thrilled about like most of my body and physicality, Matt, but my legs are dope. So I feel quite good about those. So to tat them up is interesting because like, but it's kind of like, do they need any more?
No.
I got spotted in the wild once in Joshua
Tree.
In Joshua Tree. So Survivor Ghost Island was airing. I was turning 33. And a person who was an RHAP listener came up to me and said, "You're Josh Wigler." I was like, "I certainly am." And I realized I was wearing a Wombats hat, so I was like, "Okay, this would give it away." I was like, "Did that give it away?" And she's like, "No, it's your calves." Because I had just posted a picture of myself wandering around Ghost Island, and my calves are great. I've got good calves. And so this person was like, "No, I clocked you from the calves." It's like, my grandmother was a leg model, I believe. So
what
genetics passed down.
I will say, wow, we have a lot in common. My mom is a huge fan of my calves and my legs in general.
Yeah,
she loves my legs. She's always loved my legs ever since I was.
You're a tall boy too, so like you got a lot of leg. I'm a short boy.
I've got legs.
I'm a short boy, but like in this like compact form that I've got. You look down at them, you're like, yo, is Wigler secretly jacked? I'm like, just the calves.
Just the calves?
Just the calves. Yeah.
I love this for you. And I mean, I really love that for you.
Have I ever told you about the tattoo sleeve, though? That,
wait,
I think
this is what.
Maybe
we talked about
it's possible.
this.
We'll spin that part online in a moment, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But folks will never hear the story unless I tell it now. Which is that I got Emily and I went to a murder mystery dinner party some years ago, and I was assigned the role of punk rocker Parker Tankus, British pop rocker, and so like we all had to like dress up and do weird things. And I put on like a Slash from Guns N' Roses wig on, and I got like these two like fake tattoo sleeves online and put them on, and like that whole night Emily's like, you look really good with tattoo sleeves. I was like, okay, should I just like wear these?
Josh, this is a PG-13 podcast.
The night ended in murder. Okay, like that's how the night ended. Don't dirty your minds with anything further. Okay.
Further murder. I love you're such a poet. That's beautiful. And wait, I want to go back to I think so being recognized in the wild is such an interesting topic as a podcaster. I will tell you
just happened the other day actually, which was wild.
Okay, wait. I want to hear about any notable experiences with this, or the most notable experience with this for you, because the very first time that this happened to me, which at this point must have been like 2+ years ago, I was in my neighborhood. here in DC. I have a Target. There are lots of Target locations. I was at a Target walking in, and literally I was like on there's an escalator going in, and I was on the escalator, and I think I just made eye contact with someone, and she was like, and I'll tell you her name. Her
Yeah.
name is Clara. I have not seen her. I hadn't seen her before, haven't seen her since. Would love to find her, because she's like, wait, are you on RHAP? Are you, I don't know if she said, are you Matt on RHAP? But I was like, yeah. And I was so caught off guard. It was cold outside. It was like maybe like 7:47 p.m. I was on my way to watch something on TV. So I was in a hurry, probably sick that day too. So I just was so caught off guard. I was like, yeah, that's me. And I was like, do you go to the local the watch parties that might happen here? She's like, I've been to them before. I'm like, great. We got to the end of the escalator, and rather than have like a human conversation, I was so caught off guard that I was like, great meeting you. And
yeah, of course.
It was
You're
so awkward, and I think about it a lot. But I also wonder, I'm like, are we passing each other in the neighborhood all the time?
Because you didn't you don't have the face fully registered, probably would be my guess. Or can you see her in your mind's eye?
No, I can't. Yeah. And that's the
thing. So fast,
kind of
so flustered and flabbergasted, yes. and I'm sure touched, but also shocked. Maybe a little scared.
Yeah, a little bit.
A lot going on at once.
And even in the moment, though, after I had the awkward goodbye, I'm like, should I go look for her in Target to have a normal conversation? I said, no, that would be too much.
So too far. That's too far.
I haven't seen her ever, and I don't know where to find her.
A great skill to possess that I'm learning. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on is like living it within discomfort and being okay with that. Of like, I can't go back and undo that conversation. I said that really awkwardly, which is interesting considering we're going back and undoing a conversation right now. It's like, it's really it's very, very common to feel so awkward, and like I just totally bungled that interaction. And like there are so many times in life where you get to do it again. You do get to do it again.
Wow.
Maybe not with that same person, maybe not in that same circumstance, but it's going to come back where you're going to interact with a new person again. And on that occasion, it won't be so bad. In fact, you might kill it. So don't beat yourself up over it. You're just a person. You're a person on an escalator, getting spotted in the wild for the first time, like at a non-RHAP function.
First time first time. Very strange. In my neighborhood.
You never forget your first time, Scott. You really don't.
Yeah.
You don't. So like, you could be forgiven for not having done that perfectly, Matt. I think it is okay.
But sometimes you forget the first time, because there are a lot of other times. Like if I had more people coming up to me at Target, maybe I would remember it, but like also forget it.
Sounds
but
like
sometimes when you do it over again, it really, you just remember that because it's even better.
Yeah. It sounds like you're disappointed that you're not more famous, Matt. That like you want more people coming up to you at Target.
I love just being able to live my life and not have anyone come up to me outside. I love it. I love it at celebrity.
Yeah, this is perfect. Yeah. RHAP podcaster is a perfect level of celebrity. It does not get much better. Yeah, I do think so. Ultimately, despite some of my experiences with it, I do think like almost completely positively about it long term. And I think why I think it's so great is because you go to, when you do go to these events, if you're an RHAP podcaster, suddenly you're a superstar, and people want to talk to you, and you feel special, and it feels validating. It feels like, the words that I'm speaking are landing, and like I'm making a difference, and oh my gosh, like this is, the thing that I think is so fun, but sometimes so weird, and why am I doing it? Like it means something to somebody. That's terrific. But then you can go to Target and 999 times out of 1,000, you're not going to get clocked. But that one time you're like, oh, wow, what a special thing. So you get to live your life. You get to live your life. And occasionally you find a random encounter. And it's usually, in my experience, it's all been very positive. And in some experiences, I'm sure it's not when you get especially to like a certain level of renown. So
I
think
to.
I think we're at the right level of renown, Matt. I don't think we want any more heat. I think this is good.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you. I'm with you. I feel I like it. I like the heat. I like the pressure. I love it. It's nice.
Let's get Matt Scott more
also,
famous. I think I'm good where
how?
I'm at, but like I would like to. We could figure that out. We could workshop
Oh
that. Is that
gosh.
what Pod
You
Friends
know,
is for? Should we workshop how to make? Let's use the Josh Wigler Pod Friends episode as a Trojan horse to figure out to spend the rest of the
oh
episode
God.
figuring out how to make you ridiculously famous.
You know what? I don't mind the idea of that because I also feel like I could definitely like pull out and not go with those plans.
Sure, yeah, of course.
But you know what? Right levels of fame. You know,
Yes.
with all of the money and the renown without the random tabloids covering me. Of
It's
course,
a good thing.
you know,
It's a good thing. Yes.
but I look. This is awesome. I'm sure maybe we'll come back to some fan interaction, Josh. But we've referenced the fact that this is the second time you've referenced it, and look, Josh, I'm cool.
I know you
did
are.
Survivor Philadelphia, and I did so well, and I know how to keep my mouth shut. Shout out to Alex G. But I want to. Yeah, we're doing this again.
We're
I
doing
don't
this
know what
again.
to say.
Kellen Bechtold doing it scared.
Yeah, wait. Could you say Kellen empathy is my superpower? Because I think on that episode I reference you saying
I was just
that,
listening
so I
to
have to
that the
make sure
other
it's
day
true.
where you said another Pod Friends guest was referencing empathy as my superpower, and that was from a podcast that you and I had previously recorded. So I do have to say that Kellen, I miss you. I hope everything's good. It sounds like things are great. That I agree. Empathy is my superpower is what I said on the podcast that didn't air. I also have to mention it's very important because on the Club Condo Survivor 47 Wandoff,
yes,
recorded on the other side of you and I having recorded our initial episode of Pod Friends, and I
you mentioned it
that I referenced DJ LaBelle Klein winning Survivor 35, the inaugural Wandoff, and that he, as his prize back then, we weren't doing like wombat jackets or things like that. We did.
Oh my God, I know what it is now.
Yeah, what is it?
The prize. Okay, the prize was. Now I'm gonna blank on it, but Dr. Mike, proctologist, famous proctologist,
urologist,
a free. Urologist.
Not myologist, not urologist, but a urologist.
Yeah. Urologist.
Yeah.
Free vasectomy.
Free vasectomy. Yeah. So if any time that DJ LaBelle Klein is going to find himself in need of that at any point in his life, he's got his ologist to go to. It's Dr. Mike.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've grown so much, but it's nice to be here. Always good to have conversation with you.
I'm thrilled to be getting the chance to talk to you again. We recorded an episode of Pod Friends previously that I loved spending time with you on, and had such a I felt very, and still feel like very connected to you. You are a remarkable interviewer. I think you're a remarkable person, full stop. And I think that one of your superpowers is you must get this a lot in life, that you have people who come to you for advice, or come to you with the heavy thing, and know that you're going to have an interesting perspective on it, likely a very helpful perspective on it. Maybe you won't have a big perspective on it, but you'll be there to hear and be that friend who knows that there's nothing really to say because a thing was just so horrible or whatever. That sounds like my guess of who you are to people. Does that feel right to you?
Yeah. And I mean, there are lots of, Pod Friends conversations that are examples of that. And, not to reference any in particular, but there's that off podcasts even more. There's that with random strangers sometimes. So it happens.
And I found myself when we were doing the first conversation, you and I talked a lot, or I think I talked a lot about my Survivor journey specifically. And going from being a super fan as a kid to then becoming a professional who covered the show and went out and had the time of his life, and then having it end the way that it ended, which I don't think I need to relitigate here, because I feel like if you're listening to the me episode of Pod Friends, it's a decent chance you know what happened. And if you don't, you could probably ask someone and they'll tell you. But I think that for me, we were talking about it and it was like it became the podcast. And like I felt myself like slipping back into like some of those feelings that like I hadn't confronted in that way because I hadn't like confronted them like on a recording, in sort of like an in-depth way. And I hadn't like talked to somebody who knew the score and like knew RHAP, knew Survivor, like about that stuff in a very long time. And so we ended up getting into all of that like really, really deep. And in like the days after, all I could think about was like extraordinary dread about just like feeling like I had felt like morose over it. Like I felt like just like I felt like very, very like conflicted about it. And I reached out to you and was like, Matt, can we talk? And like, I felt so many different kinds of ways about that too, because like I know that if it were me, like there's a chance that I could feel a certain kind of way about having to like redo a thing or even fielding the redo request. You were like immediate with like, let's spin it up again. And so I'm grateful.
Or not, I was like very much like whatever works for you. Like,
that's what I mean.
We could burn it if we have to.
Yeah. And so,
it burned.
Please burn it. Please burn it. Let's burn it. Let's definitely burn it. You don't need to hear it. It's fine. But like, I appreciate it so much. And it's just like, it's such a testament to like your care over people is just phenomenal. So I got to experience that firsthand and I'm just really grateful. It's a great example of like, trust your own instincts and like trust the people who you believe have your back. The onus then kind of goes on them to burn you. But life, I think, is a lot better when you're trusting the people who you feel are trustworthy. And I did that with you, and I felt that trust really rewarded. So thanks, Matt. I really appreciate you so much.
No, that means the world. And you were, it's funny that or like interesting that you texted me after that when you did, because just behind the scenes, I haven't had that happen with Pod Friends yet. Or since, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Unless there's just a string of people who are like,
the season is lit. Everyone's re-recording their pods.
Which honestly, like, to me, it's cool because there's a part of me that's like, okay, I remember the conversation, but also I definitely I do and I don't in different. I remember the feelings. I remember the vibes more than like all the details of things, but also we had the conversation, which is like my number one goal. And I'm so glad we did. And after we recorded, and I just feel like I have to bring this part up. Like, I was sitting with a lot of your emotions around everything. And then I went back and I listened to the podcast from 2019.
Sure.
Island of the Idols. And it actually brought
Josh
me
Wigler
back.
Rage Quits Survivor. That was the episode.
But it's
special guest Lily Herman. Shout out to Lily Herman.
But here's the thing. Like, I vividly remember that, and that podcast in the real time meant so much to me. Resetting, Island of the Idols. Wouldn't recommend that people rewatch that season at all.
No.
But know what you're getting into. It was just wouldn't recommend that you rewatch that. But it's just as someone who, like, in college was very involved as a sexual assault, sexual violence advocate, not only working to build awareness, but like working to work, like so many of my close friends are survivors and people who have experienced so much of what we saw on Island of the Idols and that came up around that. And when I listened back to that podcast with you, I felt like you were me. Like, that was before I was a podcaster. And I just felt like Josh represents me and the feelings I have. And it, like, the place where I want to give you credit and just validation is that I know that was kind of just what happened, but also if that wasn't your reaction, I would have been over here like, what the hell? Am I insane for feeling the way?
Totally.
I'm sure there are tweets I could look back at, like, from myself around that time that are just like really reacting to everything. But I want to thank you because you represented so many people in that moment, which it was not, I know is not your proudest or brightest moment, but like from my
I would say
perspective,
brightest and
I
not
needed
proudest because
it.
I've got a lot of things.
You have a lot of proud
I'm really
moments, let me
proud of
tell
my
you.
cats. You know, these guys, like the old guard, I loved the old guard, but we got them middle aged. These cats, we
Hey,
got as little kittens. So everything that's good and bad about them is our fault. I'm very
you're a
proud of
cool
the fact
cat,
that
and
they're
you're a cool
very
cat,
cool
and I'm
cats,
proud of you. I'm
very
proud of you.
very sweet babies.
But
But I
yeah,
appreciate that,
no.
and like again, I think that this really goes back to doing it again, and like
Yeah.
do overs. That like I can't take back my emotion and how I felt and what I did during that time. And all I can do now is like be me and as authentically me.
Yeah.
Well, that can be a very scary prospect, right? Like I think like
Uh-huh.
sometimes like if I'm authentically me, what that means is often you're gonna get a goofball, you're gonna get someone who talks a lot, and you're sometimes gonna get not the goofball who talks a lot. Sometimes you're gonna get like the person who's like pushed down by life. And like I do have a good poker face on some stuff
Yeah.
for sure. I have a really hard like I can like I like you know Rob and I covered Game of Thrones forever, and I had read the books, and it's not like I could spoil those later seasons, but I could have spoiled those early
Mhm.
ones, or like Walking Dead, or like in an example where like for like you know I'm still writing for the Hollywood Reporter. I still like cover
Yeah.
genre shows for them and do a lot of work there, and I still podcast about genre shows today. And like sometimes I got to watch ahead. Like I have to watch perhaps a full season of a thing so that I can have
Mhm.
conversations with people for interviews and stories. But like I then have to podcast without like the knowledge of the things that I've attained. I can do that. I can do that
Yeah.
like fairly skillfully. Like I'm used to it. It's part of the job. It's part of the gig. What I can't do is if I'm like beaten up by life, or
Yeah.
if I'm particularly like empowered by life, I can't help but bring that into the room. That's just
Yeah.
I can't put that away. So like I have like you know like my boundaries have historically been like kind of thin, and I'll just like sort of like trauma dump on someone if
Yeah.
they ask me how you're doing, if I happen to be in like a trauma state. Uh
Mhm.
and like it's a thing that I'm both like somehow like I'm trying to work on it without losing authenticity, and like without losing like what's fair to me, and like
Yeah.
who I want to be in this world. But what I am working on, and where I do feel like where I did feel like ultimately like empowered to reach out to you, and then felt like like
Mm.
even more empowered after like you responded so openly, is that I don't need to necessarily trauma dump publicly. Like I think I did that. It happened. And I know it was really meaningful for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
I cannot guarantee what the future holds in terms of anything like that again. But where I can, I think I want to keep that offline, and I think I want to keep that to myself. Like I
Sure.
want to keep that. Like I'm thrilled. Like we had like a really deep conversation that I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to have had with you, that I don't know that I would have felt so good having with thousands of people. With all due respect to all of you who I adore and am so grateful
Yeah.
for, but I think it's okay to take some of this stuff offline. And so, you know,
Yeah.
we talked a bit about like the sobriety journey that I have
Mm.
been on, had been on, am still on in many ways. Like sobriety is not a straight line, and it has bobbed and weaved and will continue to. But like that's my journey, and I don't need to bring that online. I can keep that offline. So 24 into 2025 Wigler is like thinking really hard about like boundaries, and like
Yeah.
what am I giving my time and energy to, and what am I giving of myself to people? And I think I've given a lot, and I'm so excited to give more. But I think that I'm starting to learn that there's certain things that I don't have to give, and that's
Yeah.
totally fine. And it's not like I'm cheating people out of something. It's that I'm holding on tightly to like my very, very wonderful full life, that is wonderful and full for the bad things too. And I think that it's
Yeah.
okay to keep that stuff just to yourself. So all of which is to say, I just appreciate your ability to like field people and to like kind of like clock that within me that this was something that I needed. So we don't need to spend the whole time on this, but I did want to talk about it. It was worth mentioning that we had done it before.
I want to give you the space to talk. I want to give you the space to talk about that, but also just to like say a few things. One that came to mind as you're saying that is the wonderful, lovely, talented, sensational, brilliant Shannon Gus is someone who lives rent free in my head for saying to me that our biggest strengths are our biggest weaknesses.
Yes,
and
yes.
I know how many people, but like men in particular, famously, just like it's like it's the meme of like men will do anything but get therapy. And it's like, you know, a lot of men keep it all into a point that is like harmful not only to themselves and to others. And I admire that piece of you, the positive aspect of that, which is you being able to open up and be yourself and share so much of who you are. And I feel similar. You're different people, but I feel similar about Mike Bloom in the sense that you're not afraid to carry the complexity of your identity of being someone who could be like this hilarious, witty, brilliant ball of light and fluff and other wonderful things.
Inside,
but also like
us,
you
Matt,
can be real.
Inside each of us, there are two wombats. You know, like
it's
which
two
one
wombats.
Which one do you feed? I think it's like true of all of us. And you bring up Mike, who is just one of the most important people in my life.
Oh my gosh,
and is about as close to like a little brother as I have on planet Earth. And I feel very protective of Mike. And I feel like insanely like probably overly proud of Mike. And like among the reasons are not just his career accomplishments, nor his ability to positively David his way through a Goliath encounter on social media. We are the slingshot. Like I think that he represents that thing, and I think that he is so himself. Like what you get with Mike is what you get with Mike online and offline. And I adore that about Mike, while simultaneously being able to say that I think a thing Mike is really good about is picking and choosing the aspects of his non-podcast life. I'm podcasting about Severance very soon. So innies and outies. Like the innie is the podcaster. The outie is who is Mike Bloom when he's not podcasting. So innie Mike, I think, is really judicious about which aspects of outie Mike's life he brings into the podcast. That's something that I've always wanted to be better at myself. Again, without like compromising, like talking about who I am, and just to like my therapist, the lovely Brian. Shouts to Brian. My therapist, like I'll often say like he'll say like you're doing good work, and my like canned response, just like my auto response, like when the doctor hits your knee and your leg reflexes, my auto response is I'm trying, and he goes you're doing, and so I love like that. I'm trying to like take that and live with it. So to that point, I bring that up because like I'm not necessarily telling you like, so what was the exact moment where you decided that you could watch Survivor again? Like I don't need to do that. Like or like or even like, so tell us what happened after the murder mystery party. Like I don't need to bring that into the podcast. Like you can assume you can do whatever you want with that. But I think that just I think that the way that I'm talking to you now feels to me like this is also authenticity, and there's like a lot to like glean from like not just like the words of a person, but the emotionality of a person. I think Mike Bloom is so excellent at that. I endeavor to be like Mike.
Me too. Me too.
I think we should all
be like Mike.
Be like Mike.
Wow, that's an original. We should trademark that.
Yeah, I just came up with it off the top.
Impressive, brilliant.
Thanks.
And just like the one just last piece I'll say on this is like I hope everyone, not just you, Josh, but I hope everyone who's listening who feels any emotions about where they've been, what they've done, all that, just give yourself grace. Like that's the biggest thing that I feel like I learned specifically when my dad passed in 2017, almost exactly 8 years ago.
You found RHAP the same year your dad
I
passed
did literally that same month I did. And I dove more into podcasts and I feel like it was like Johnny Fairplay tweet or something like that. And I looked
see again, there's things about your offline life that you don't have to bring onto the podcast. This is what I'm trying to tell you.
I didn't have to bring him onto the podcast.
He's my birthday twin.
Wherever he is. That's so funny.
Is it?
You know what? I just had restraint, and
it's fine.
I haven't heard anything from him in years.
It's been a long time since I've gotten a Tyler Weigert text. So
anyway, no, but I will. So I like the biggest thing I learned from just like that moment and being in like grief groups and the like was like, you know what, you do better when you know better. Also, like, we all deserve so much grace.
Yeah, I agree.
Where we've been and what we did. And we were doing the best that we could at the time with the tools that we had. And I feel like that realization for myself, like oh, I wish I could have been there in the short like month and a half that my dad was sick and all, like even more rather than like work travel or other things. Like then I realized like I did the fucking best I could. And that's, you know, I think that's just sometimes a reminder. And that's not only just specific to you, Josh, but anyone. But I think the beauty of this conversation is that we're going to do the best we can this time, Josh. So
I think we're doing great.
Even though we're 30 plus minutes in.
No, I'm having so much fun. This is great. Yeah, let's do it.
I am too. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Let me play this song. Thank you.
Josh.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Lur.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Lur.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Lur.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Lur.
Do the wiggle, man. I do the wiggle, man.
Yeah. Woo! Josh, we did it. Okay, I've been waiting for 30 plus minutes to play that. So yeah, what should we talk about now?
Great question.
Right there. You wanna know right now. Before you go any further, this is Wanda, and you're in my arena if you need to. You can straight up leave here. It would make me so happy for the rest of my life if you'd shut the shirk up and just eat your damn rice. It's the Wanda. It's the Wanda forever if you need to. You can straight up leave here, but it'll make you so happy for the rest of your life if you turn the songs up and turn out to be nice. You ought to know right now. Before you go any further, it's the Wanda. It'll be here forever.
Josh, we did it. We're here. I figured out how to use the sound effects since the last time we talked. It's great.
Yeah, what are you doing? You're like putting it in like the thing, and then you just like
I put it in the thing and it did the thing and the
great realization. Did you remember to turn off auto the repeat?
Yeah, the loop. Yeah, I
so many times.
It's so annoying that I don't know if that's just the default always.
This is inside Schmergenball, folks. You don't need to. This is podcast any stuff. But I'm impressed. Yes. Matt. Good job. You worked out the tech.
Thank you. I'm proud. Anyway, Josh,
are we about to do a wand-off? Are we wand-offing?
We are, because you made a song.
Oh, no, I didn't. I did not make a song.
Who made the song?
I didn't make a song. I sent along to you, and I actually haven't listened to it yet. I sent along to you. I am I took a big old break from Survivor. I stopped watching it for a while, and then I came back, and I'm thrilled to be here. But the entire time that I've been offline, like I kept in touch with a lot of my Survivor friends, very, very close friends of mine still from that world. And probably I would say like the closest is Wanda Shirk, frequent collaborator, one of the co-hosts of the Wand-Off, alongside myself, Rob Sesternino, and the ghost of Casey Kasem. Yeah. So we're in regular touch, and like she was one of the most supportive people when I told her, like, okay, so I recorded an episode of Pod Friends with Matt Scott where I got like really depressing about that Survivor experience and went like really deep back into my 2019 goals. And Wanda was like, "Shirk it off, you're gonna be all right." You know, that's my impression.
Oh wow,
it's not really what she.
Wow. Okay. I thought she was
And I said, that's so kind of you. I think I'm gonna reach out to Matt and like ask if I can do it again. And she was one of the voices that really encouraged me to give it a shot. So when I told her that you were so kind, and she was like, I knew he would be, you know, again, an impression.
Wow.
It's kind of like Mickey Mouse. It's a little Mickey.
I love it.
We got a little shades of the mouse.
Oh boy.
She was like, okay, that's great. And then like about an hour or two before you and I hopped back on, I had an email from her. And she said, I'm not going to impersonate her. She said she didn't have your information, but she wanted to record an intro for the Pod Friends episode. So,
wow.
You know, we've oh, my cat. Did you hear my cat meow?
Yeah, I did.
Lolo? Hi, baby.
Oh my gosh. Wait, this is perfect.
Podcast cameo. Oh, she does not want to be here. You're going to be okay. Oh!
You don't want to be on Pod Friends.
Did you see this?
Oh my gosh.
Are you okay? She got me. My sweet baby Lo. One of the things about our cats, they don't like to be held.
Cats. Yeah, apparently.
They really don't. For the audio people only, my cat came in the room. She's my baby angel. She's the sweet, like she's an angel from heaven sent down to protect us.
I'm shocked.
And she came in meowing at me, and I picked her up to show her off to the camera, and then she scrambled and scratched my hand.
Very podcast shy, apparently.
Anyway,
awkward.
So Wanda sent in an email, and Wanda sent an email and said, like, this is an intro. So even though we've been talking for 30 minutes plus at this point,
yes.
she I think she intended for this to be the intro of the podcast. So anyway, this was just a note that she had passed along that I think you're in possession of. It was
okay. Well, we'll listen to it. Let's see what's going on. I'm nervous.
Don't be. Got a little marching band this time.
Okay.
Little drummer boy.
Get it, Wanda?
This is Wanda. Here's a story that began in Borneo. A man named Richard wants some money from a man named Jeffrey Probst. On Long Island in a basement, young Josh Wigler watched the show. Some years later, old Josh Wigler bought himself a microphone and interviewed Missy and Baylor. Got blocked on Twitter by Troy's and fell for a dude named Devin and a ton of other island boyfriends. Had a pretty public meltdown, but I promise he's okay.
No, seriously, guys, I'm okay.
On this episode of Pod Friends, Josh Wigler has things to say.
Wow. Oh, man. Oh, that's so sweet. Wanda. See, she's the best. She is the only person on earth I think I've encountered in the RHAP ecosystem, at least, more supportive than you, Matt, is Wanda Shirk. Getting like, kind of like nailing my life story and just like a couple, like a single verse and one chorus. Pretty good. Not bad. The voice of an angel, right? Matt?
Matt? Josh? I'm
we've got blood now. It's showing up, the blood from the wounds.
Wait, you're bleeding?
Let's see. Is it? Yeah. There we go.
Oh my gosh, you are bleeding,
folks. We got blood.
I'm shocked.
I think this is the first.
No,
I was going to say. I think this is the first time I've drawn blood on a podcast, but it's not true.
Oh my gosh!
I ran over my own foot.
We're making history. Yeah. I don't think anyone's bled on Pod Friends.
I'm the first bleeder.
Wow! Oh my gosh! I'm so shocked. What is good? I feel like we broke the universe between you being attacked and.
It wasn't an attack. I mean, technically, theoretically, and actually, literally, I picked her up. She didn't want it, and then I clung on to her and like.
You know what? That's all good.
I did not respect her agency. This is on me. This is ultimately on me.
Yeah, but the fact that we haven't recorded. I'll send you the clip for
I would like
legal
that.
purposes.
That's good social media. Good social media clip.
Believe me.
Clip that out.
We have a few good social media clips that just happened. This is shocking. Oh my gosh! shout out to Wanda. Wow. Oh wow. Oh my gosh, Wanda.
Unfortunately, I imagine you're gonna have to strip that from the YouTube version of this podcast. You're gonna get copyright flagged for sure.
we'll see what happens. I believe at the
Right.
very worst, because at the very worst, what'll happen is that it'll just be like muted in that part of the episode
Oh
behind
my
the
God.
scenes.
Are they coming? Are they coming to get you?
you could.
What did you do? Matt, perfect. You know what? You are the perfect Dexter. You know, you would be.
What? No.
Yeah, you would be like.
I don't.
I think
don't
of
like
everyone on
plastic that much.
RHAP, you would have the best serial killer
Really?
cover.
No, I would
you,
not.
Like, couldn't hurt a fly. Like, oh my God, your cat! Like, you got blood on the podcast. Are you like you're so supportive and caring? And secretly, don't go down in that basement.
I don't know.
And they're finally
Yeah, maybe. Honestly, maybe it's true. I haven't found it. I haven't found it yet. I don't know. Could you be my dark passenger?
I'll be your dark passenger.
Oh my
Tonight's the night.
gosh. Oh my gosh. This is so
Wigler's
exciting.
Code. Yeah.
Wow.
Are you watching the Young Dexter?
No, and I feel like I should be.
It's
I watched
pretty
all
good.
of Dexter,
It's pretty
original
fun.
Dexter,
If you watched all of Dexter, you gotta watch Young Dexter. Young Dexter is like the best Dexter we've had in a long time. The last season,
Oh my
notwithstanding, which I
gosh.
thought actually like the New
Let me
Blood
write
was
that down.
quite good, but I think Young Dexter's better than that. Young Dexter's really
Oh my
fun.
gosh.
Yeah, I'm having a great time on Young Dexter.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
There you go.
I'm
TV Rack.
excited.
Obligatory TV
I'm
Rack
s-
pod.
I'm so lost, right? Lost, not like the show, but I'm lost.
Are you trying to
right
figure
now.
out how to put us on rails?
No, we don't need rails. I'm enjoying this
Where
moment
we're
right now.
going.
I'm enjoying where we are. I'm enjoying that. I don't care where we're going. I enjoy where we are.
Yeah.
And I will say,
What
I
a
really
great
do.
present attitude that I'm aspiring towards as well.
Okay, can I tell you something? That
course.
Kellen, and my conversation with Kellen has lived rent free in my head in so many ways. But one of the things that I'm so impressed with Kellen is that she's so good at just breathing, not being afraid of dead air.
She coached us through
And,
a breathing exercise.
She did. I've been breathing ever since, believe it or not.
How did that go for like the people who listen on a podcast that like snips out?
me, who are like, wait, is it working? You know, looking at your phone.
Well, no,
like, is
there's
it
like
okay?
there's like actual like podcast mechanisms for certain players that cut out the silence. So like, what did that sound like for you? I'm curious.
I have no clue. I have no clue.
I'd love to know.
Probably very, very anxious, rapid.
No,
I don't know.
The advice that she gives at the end of that pod to just like breathe was like that was an amazing thing to experience as a listener. It felt like very like powerful in the moment.
I agree. There are lots of things that are amazing to experience as a listener, Josh, including.
Okay.
I have to go back to this song for a second.
Oh, that Wanda recorded and sent to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, like, I'm so curious about just one, and impressed how your relationship with Wanda has surpassed, has endured, not let go, but it's endured over time.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, where did this bond? Like, how did you find your connection with Wanda and music? I mean, that's one thing, Josh, that I feel like you don't bring it into podcasts. We hear Wanda all the time being very musical here and there. When I say all the time, I mean once in a
Wanda all the time is a great vibe though.
Wanda all the time.
The connection with Wanda, you could go back and listen to the Palau chapter of the Evolution of Strategy, where Wanda begins as my ops. I'm very annoyed by the singing, and I believe it's Rob who basically tells me soften your heart.
Wow.
Be kind, as Rob is wont to do. He's incredible for advice like that. And so my heart softened, and over time she became the voice of Truck 108, which then continued on through the Evolution of Strategy. And then, of course, after that, we became such good friends that we collaborated on the Wanda Off together. The rest is history. Music for me has I've been singing my whole life.
Wow.
I think the first I often talk about how Terminator 2 and seeing that way too young is the reason why I'm here today, which I do think is like true.
Right.
But I do think you could go back even earlier to the Woody Gaba, which is what I, as a small, called the Wizard of Oz, because I couldn't pronounce Woody Gaba. And I would like force my grandmother to just like play it and play it and play it again. And I know that movie like I know the back of my hand. That's currently been cat clawed.
Yes.
So I loved music from such a young age, and like those songs are like so important to me. And like as a kid, I was in the plays, and I was in chorus, and I did show choir, jazz choir. Did a couple of musicals. And then in college, I went to Syracuse.
What musicals?
I was in Gypsy. I was so forgettable that I forgot his name. Herbert, little Herbie, who's the romantic interest. I was him. And I think I got the part because I was wearing my tattoo sleeves. I was also in Damn Yankees in the dual role of Joe. I believe is it Joe Hardy before he turns into like Shoeless Joe? Whoever Old Man Joe is, that was me. And then like a younger, hotter guy got to play like Baseball Joe. But I got to be then the captain of the baseball team who sings, "Hey, oh, gotta have heart. All you really need is heart."
Oh my gosh.
When the odds are saying you'll win, that's when the grin should start. First, you gotta have heart. And then you keep going.
Come on.
I was like an 11th grader, and I thought it was the coolest thing I'd done. We did like the Pops concert. So I've been doing music forever, but then I went to Syracuse, and I was like riding the high of being like really embedded in this scene in high school. And I got to Syracuse. They had a thing called First Year Players. It's like a musical thrown on by the freshmen. And I auditioned for it. It was for How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which had almost been the final musical of my high school career, which I would have been so psyched about because that's a great role, J. Pierpont Finch, and obviously I was going to get it. Then for First Year Players, Matt, they had like the acting audition. I did great. They had the singing audition. I did great. They had the dancing audition, and I couldn't keep up with anyone. And in fact, at one point, fell down and split my khakis down the middle. And so I didn't get any part in the First Year Players.
Stop yelling on podcast
of How to Succeed Business. See, this is a part of my Audi life that I'm thrilled to bring into the podcast. An anecdote. And that was the end of it. I did Gefilte Fish was my Jewish rock acoustic comedy duo act that I did with my buddy Harrison in Syracuse. And we rocked all over campus and had a great time. But on the other side of that, nothing, not a zilch, no stage work, no public music since then. And so I really needed a venue. Turned out we got one right here on RHAP. So all of the wand-offing along the way has been as creatively fulfilling for me, certainly, as I think it's been for many other people. That's my music history.
Wow. Okay, wait. Hold on. Mute. Pause. So, Josh, this is I'm glad that we're talking about this. I actually have something that I want to share with you.
Oh, sure.
That I actually wasn't so sure I wanted to share this. Talking about bringing our lives into the podcast. So I feel like
final waypoint, Matt. You sure you want to do this?
I am sure.
Okay,
I'm
great.
sure.
Perfect.
I'm sure because I have editing power, so I can.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you can always take this out later.
But I realize I typically don't edit anything out. So holidays happened pretty recently, and something that I did over Thanksgiving. I have two adorable nephews who are like 6 and 2, and over Thanksgiving, my 6-year-old nephew was just singing some songs. And so I took out my handy phone and I recorded voice memos of him singing the songs. And then for Christmas, my gift to him was a song, maybe in part inspired by the Wand-Off, to know that I too can make a song. So it's like a 3-minute song. You know what? I'm gonna hit play on it. And let's just go. Let's go. It's called, well, no, you don't even need context on what's called.
Yeah, let's just hear it.
I need to eat zombies.
Help! Help! Give me a help! Boom buddy boom boom. Boom boom. 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 Look at my googly eyes. Got my googly eyes. Look at 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 my very, very scary. Look at my googly eyes.
I'm a good kid who you know always tries, but when I'm sad, it's okay when I cry.
Yes!
Patiently weird as my finger paint dries. I'm dancing with on-ski head hips and my thighs.
Googly eyes. Googly eyes.
What is this? Googly eyed?
Googly eyes.
Got it.
Yeah. There's the.
It's mama. Mama. It's mama. Mama. It's my mama. Mama. It's Mimi. It's Mimi. Mama. Mimi. Akakuka. Mama. Mimi. Akakuka.
I'm gonna let this keep going. I'll play the
Look
whole
at my googly eyes. Look at my googly eyes. Look at my googly eyes. Look at my googly eyes.
Watch this.
I try to wake up just after sunrise and look to play outside and exercise. I know that mommy and daddy are wise. I try my best and I go for the prize.
Very inspirational.
Oh my God, Matt with the bridge.
Boom buddy boom boom. Boom boom.
You gotta have it.
Boom boom. Boom buddy boom boom. Boom boom. Fire. Mommy. Daddy.
You want this cookie?
Fire. Mommy. Daddy.
You want this cookie?
Fire. Mommy. Daddy.
You want this cookie?
Fire.
No, I won't.
Mommy. Daddy.
You want this cookie?
Boom buddy boom. Yes. Boom boom. Boom buddy boom. Not cookies. Boom buddy
Whole song.
boom boom. Boom buddy boom boom. Boom boom. Look at my googly eyes. Got my googly eyes. Look at 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 my very, very scary. Look at my googly eyes. Look at my googly eyes. Boom buddy boom boom. Boom boom. Boom buddy boom boom. Boom boom. Look at my googly eyes. Boom boom buddy boom boom. Boom
I
boom.
need to eat zombies. You want this cookie?
Marvelous. And that was the hit single from. That was
Yes.
Googly Eyes from. That's
It's my nephew.
That's Scott's nephew. I'm trying to think of like
Yeah.
who is it? Is there an important? Oh yeah. Well, I'm not gonna say like a Hans nephew, but I was trying to think of who's a nephew.
No,
on Survivor. No, so it's not a Hans. No way.
it's only a hand situation.
Unbelievably funny. Wonderful.
Gotta go hard.
How did you do the music? Are you like a
I
secret
edited-
musician?
No, I edit. So okay, background music. That was What Does the Fox Say?
Oh,
And which is so funny because he just got like a fox costume, and I was like, this kid doesn't even know what does the fox say. But then, we're mixing it up. There's a lot there, Josh. We got the cookie. That's my mom in there.
this
We got
couldn't have
the
happened
zombie,
if this would never. You would have never had another venue to release this if not for the fact that we decided to do this again. So. Good
You're
job.
right.
us.
That's pretty much it. World premiere.
The original version of our podcast predates Googly Eyes, which I
this
think
is true.
Do we do Song of the Winter? Is that a thing? Can we make Googly Eyes the top charting Song of the Winter?
Yeah, there's a lot to be googly-eyed about.
Song of the Winter has like big fantasy energy, right? Like that feels like
Game of
something that Jon
Thrones.
Snow has to deal with.
Yeah. Oh my. Wait, isn't that I gotta say, it's kind of close. By the way, the
Yeah.
name Jon Snow is a little on the nose.
It
the
is.
winter.
But that's how they did it with the bastards of Westeros. There's like, oh, you're in the snowy place. Your bastard name is Snow. Oh, you're
There's
in the
already
sandy.
the song
You're the sand.
Song
You're
of
in the
Ice and Fire.
You're in the sandy place. Your bastard name is Sand. It's not that creative, but that's how
I
they
guess
felt about
not.
these people, which is not cool.
I guess not, but you know what? Song of the Winter works. Like, forget the Song
Love
of
it.
Ice and Fire.
Love
It's just
it.
the fire song of the winter.
So Song of Winter and Song of Summer are the song of together are the Song of Ice and Fire. So it's like you got like two shots
Wow.
every year at what was the best song of the year: Song of the Winter, Song of the Summer. Everyone else who was planning a release before the vernal equinox should probably just put that away, because Googly Eyes just Santa slayed the song. Of
I
the winter.
agree, honestly, and I think that might be the end of my music career. But who knows? There might be another one. We'll see. We'll see
You never
where we
go to
go
Wanda?
from here.
You never were.
No,
compelled to?
and I
Yeah.
literally for the latest one, I thought about it. I was like, "Is there something? Is it?" But no, I never got around to it, Josh. My dear, I did. Okay, well, I did. I didn't send that. Actually, did I send?
That's an incredible
Look.
Pod Friends Wandoff, by the way.
I have to say the Pod Friends Wandoff is
Not bad.
incredible.
Not bad.
And it's really sweet and fun. Is
I
the
love it.
feedback
I
that
love it.
I will say I didn't know what to expect. So for the Pod Friends song, I sent it to my dear friend Alex G, and I was like, "Listen to this and tell me what you think." And he just said it was sweet and fun. So I was like, "Okay, great,
I love it.
good to know that I'm not being insulted again yet another week in a row on the podcast."
Yes, that is
It
good.
feels good. It feels
Yeah,
good.
I won't come at you the way Sam Moore does.
You know what? Honestly, I need it. I need it. I need to be, negged a little bit.
We give Sam Moore too
beaten
much
down
credit.
a little bit.
He could work harder, I do think.
Yeah, he doesn't work nearly hard.
He could
enough.
do more.
He's probably
It's in his
slacking off
name.
right
He can always
now.
do more. Always do more.
Always do more.
Yeah.
Always do more.
Can I
Josh,
shout out somebody on RHAP
please.
who definitely doesn't get enough credit, and I need to name her in the his name is Dylan meme format. I'm not going to do it in the copy.
Yeah, I have a feeling I know who you're going to say, but go for it.
I'm not going to do it like that. Jessica Sterling.
I knew it.
Needs to be
Wait.
named.
Say her name again. Say her name again.
Jessica Sterling.
There we go.
We need to shout
have a
out
bell.
Jessica Sterling, not to besmirch the great Sam Moore, who is so instrumental in making all of the podcasts happen, from scheduling, air traffic control, all of that. Behind the scenes, I think people already know about Scott St. Pierre, who's been super involved in the production, king of production, ever since RHAP really began in like a serious way. A recent member of the RHAP team who came over with me after we closed post-show recaps is the incredible Jess Sterling, who is not only one of the funniest people that I know on the planet, and goofiest people that I know on the planet, and kindest people that I know on the planet, but is one of the hardest working people that I know, full stop. If you are enjoying listening to your podcast on RHAP, there's a very high likelihood that Jess edited it for you. Now what I want you to do is pull up the RHAP main feed, the We Know Reality feed, the We Know Scripted feed. You got to pull up the Kickback as well. And look at how many podcasts come out in a given week. And I would say like
a lot,
80% at least of that, at the very least, is edited and produced by Jess. So Jess Sterling is a monster. She is mulch, as we like to call her on the weekend program. She is a queen, a legend, and one of the dearest people to me, certainly in my professional life. And I just want to make sure Jess gets her flowers because they are due.
100%.
And if you all
100%.
enjoy RHAP, go find your way to tag her on whatever social media, give her a follow, and just give her some effusive praise because she deserves it. She's a boss. In the technical,
1,000.
I'm like kind of her boss, but she's a boss.
Right. I mean, and I will say there's so many, like just so many folks like bring together everything behind the scenes with RHP, but not that many, which I always like to point out. It's this balance of like, it's, and this is something Sam and I talked about. Like, it's not just Sam, but also it's not a massive team. And like we mentioned Derek, Jess, I want to stop. I have to stop
we
myself
can't do
from
the
going
full
into
we can't do the
listening.
full Rolodex because we'll
can't do
get
the
in
full
trouble.
Rolodex.
We'll
We
feel
will.
bad, and you don't
Yes,
want to
we
like
will.
get down at the bottom of the escalator and wonder could I have done that differently. Okay, so let's just
And then
okay
walk
bye
away
off the
awkwardly.
escalator. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think that might
I'll
be
do it if I have to.
that.
No, but
I think-
just deserves that. And I think like just the shout out, and and maybe one thing I would say is that there is so much work and love and time and attention that goes into not only making the podcast and RHAP, but I think looking at post-show recaps, like 10 years of post-show recaps,
yeah.
gosh, that's such a freaking accomplishment. Like 10 minutes of most people have a podcast or a podcast network for 10 minutes, let alone 10 years.
This was
10
in my
years.
that was I think close to exactly what I wrote when I said we were closing down. Yeah, like most podcasts don't make it 10 minutes. The fact that we had a podcast network that made it 10 years is still wild to me. And not lost on me that RHAP has just entered its 15th year and is still churning out the pods. Where one door closed, another opened, and for various reasons, it made so much sense to like call it at 10 years and to look to the new horizons and again like kind of like do it again, spin it back online, but let's do it different and like what kind of energy can we bring to it. So I've been really happy with the switch over to We Know Scripted, which is still very much a work in progress, because especially to your point, Matt, I do think like just to even like shift away from like the scripted of it all, just to like expectations and like what we all so podcasting is such an intimate medium. There's like it's such a great two-way street in a way that so many other media don't have. You can get on Blue Sky and post you can skeet at us, you can skeet at me, you can consent. You could do that. You could like talk, you could tag me on Facebook, like you could talk to your podcasters, and many of you do. You write in, your feedback gets on the air, all of this stuff. And so there's like this really wonderful feeling of community that's built around it. And also I think some measure of expectation that gets built around it, and like some measure of like ownership over it, which I think is right for just about any creative work, is that like the author or authors have their intent and they put it out, but then the reader, the listener, the whatever, then completes the story by engaging it. And the story actually never ends because people keep engaging it. So it just goes on and on and on. Podcasts are similar to that as well, where we'll put one out and the audience responds to it, good or ill, right? One of the things that I think you mentioned that I do just want to highlight is like sometimes the things that you want to see on the podcast, or sometimes like a thing that is not happening fast enough on a podcast, it's because it takes a lot to make these podcasts, whether it's like speaking into the microphone or getting art ordered or editing the pod or like all of this stuff. And like, maybe you really would be surprised at like the size of the team that's doing that. Like I just said, like Jess is responsible for so much of that production. We're a small production. If there's an angel investor out there who would like to donate a ton of money to RHAP, we could probably do whatever your heart desires. In the meantime, we're doing what our hearts desire, and more importantly, what our hearts are capable of. So this is just like a friendly public service announcement of like, like you absolutely are well within your rights to have expectations of the podcast, to have like certain demands of the podcast that meet like your needs and stuff, but a little patience, a little empathy, and a little understanding that the podcast staff, the people who are recording them, the people who are assembling them, are people as well with busy lives, and just be chill with them. Just be chill with them. That's the advice I would give.
Yeah, and I so well said. And I would also say, people, I think for all of us, like when we have a perception of what something can be and should be, often that is limited to that's limited to what we know. So for instance, when I think about like questions that I know people had for you within Pod Friends, like so much of that is based on what they know about you already,
Right,
and like
totally,
expanding
yes.
on that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's beautiful to like give people and podcasts and just people in general the space to like define and write who they are and be who they are, you know, today and tomorrow, and you know, like to start anew in different ways, which I think is beautiful too. But also, like it is, I do love how much heart and grace and kindness and empathy like so many people within the RHAP world have
Mhm.
for the folks, like for us as we make this, put this all
They're coming
together, as
back.
we make it all happen. They're coming
They're
for
coming
me.
back.
They're coming. I live.
It's because
look,
they heard the part where
I'm
you
so-
said, maybe I did. You said that too
It's
loud.
like, oh, Dexter, they don't know where to find me. If I duck down a
Tonight's
little bit, they
the
just
night.
keep going right by. They keep
Mhm.
going right by. It's pretty
Born in
impressive.
blood. I don't know
I
why I
will
turned into
say,
Nicolas
honest,
Cage.
honestly, I don't mind it. I do you I don't know. I'm not going to bring this to impressions that you have. Josh, do you have like a voice that you feel like doing right now in this moment?
A voice that I feel like doing right now.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be an impression, anything. Like
Yeah, I
just want
do.
to give you
This is me. This is my voice that I want to do right now. It's me, Saul the Drill Man. Sometimes I show up on a podcast to just drill into your floor and go into your basement and check out what's going on. Time travel. What a joke. That's Saul the Drill Man, regular feature on Down the Hatch, podcast co-hosted by Mike Bloom.
I
me.
wasn't ready. Oh, you're on the pod. Okay, yeah. just
I'm also
making
on that
sure you're on the
podcast. Yeah,
too.
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
I do
my
still
gosh.
podcast,
Yes, you do.
contrary to popular belief. I am
Yeah.
still podcasting and continued to podcast through all of that time. But the amount of
Yes.
people, I was just talking to a colleague in our space about this.
Mhm.
The amount of people that that like I'll hear from online, and this person had experienced this in person at live RHAP events and other things like that, of like people being like, man, I wish I could hear from you more. I was over here being like, put out 100 podcasts on post show recaps every week. What do you mean? And like there was like an awareness issue there too, where it's like
it happens, yeah.
Well, especially with you know, in our audience, we're so intertwined with post show and RHAPs, was that I think it just felt like post show was part of RHAP, which it wasn't. It was its own. It was literally its own thing. So it made a lot of sense to be like, no, it should probably let's just do scripted on RHAP. I think is what's going to make the most sense. So I don't know, tangent.
No, yeah, no. Actually, I'm glad that you went on that tangent because it brings me back to something else. What do you do, Josh?
What do I do?
At RHAP? What is
Yeah.
it? People love to hear the behind the scenes.
Yeah,
of
sure.
it all.
So I have a very fancy official title at RHAP. This is not a bit. Dragon fruit Ferragamo. I have a very fancy title at RHAP. I'm the executive editor of RHAP Productions, Matt.
Oh, wow.
I'm in the C-suite.
I didn't know I was talking. I just gonna say, I don't know. Didn't realize I was talking with someone in the
Okay, I'm not a CEO. All right, everyone, chill, back off. I'm not the
Chief
CEO.
executive editor.
Stand down. Not me. The job effectively entails being a person who brings a lot of editorial experience and wisdom to the table. I've been in the entertainment media world as a professional for getting really close to 20 years. I have interviewed more people than I know at this point. This is not a flex. It's just the truth. I've been in newsrooms. I've been on red carpets. I've been in junkets. I've been in the publicity world quite a bit, dealing with publicists who are the people that you got to reach out to often, more often than not, to arrange things like screener access or interviews with talent or press opportunities of that ilk. That's a huge part of my job historically, to network and interface with these people. That is a big function of what I'm doing at RHAP. Like when a podcaster does not have screeners for a show and they want screeners for a show, they contact me. I find and contact the right people. Oftentimes these are people I have some form of relationship with, and we try to make that happen, and we try to make other things happen that sometimes you see and sometimes you don't, because they don't happen. So there's a lot of like that level of creative behind the scenes. It's a lot of a lot of the editorial work specifically for me is on the scripted side, but I'm weighing in every day on the reality side of things too, which is a big part of why not only did I want to catch up on Survivor, which I ended up doing, I also am like fully current on the Traders. I'm fully current on Dondi.
Oh my gosh.
I am, for my sins, almost current at this moment on Beast Games. Like, I'm trying to like pay attention. You and I got some issues with Jimmy. No, not good. It's so gross. It's the most grotesque thing I've seen. And I watch a lot of TV, and this is like the grossest thing I've seen, and I cannot look away. I'm part of the problem. But I've taken it very responsibility that if I'm going to come on and I'm going to help out editorially on RHAP, not just headline workshopping, structure workshopping with people, like all these various different things that like I at least need to like know more of the language than I previously did. I can't keep up with actually watching Big Brother, but I have paid enough attention to the social media around it this past summer, and I think that's my preferred way of engaging Big Brother. So that's probably how I'll do it, with some live.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's the basic gist of what I do, is a lot of editorial support and counsel that I bring to Rob, to Jess, to Sam, to Scott, to many of these to the other people who make the podcasts go boom.
Yeah, no, that definitely answers my question. And one of the things that you mentioned within that, now I'm just thinking about Beast Games a bit, and I'll say it. I'm just gonna put it out there, and then we'll move on. But I do really feel like Beast Games is like the reality show made by sociopaths. But I like to watch it because I like to watch true crime. Because that's really what we're seeing in front of us. I'm looking forward to the documentaries and the lawsuits and covering it on Crime Scene. Shout out to Mari and Sarah.
Absolutely. I will also just add to that for me, Beast Games is like the perfect distillation of where we are.
Yeah. But we don't want to go in that direction. And it's
absolutely not. Scary. And like, we want to fight against that direction, but like, to fight that direction, talk about like what you had said earlier and what we had talked about earlier, being present, right? Can't look away entirely. I'm a big believer in like protect your own peace, especially in this time. I am not like I was like a voracious news reader in the lead up to in the years leading up to the election. And if your guy won, good for you. That's not my guy. And so on the other side,
let me tell you, if your guy won and you're listening to this,
I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. But whatever.
There's a lot going on.
I
just have a feeling.
Would love at some point to perhaps change your heart on that being your guy, but that's not today's issue to solve.
No.
So for me, I will not do the headline seeking anymore. I cannot do it. I am not able to engage on that on a daily practice level. The craziest shit I imagine is going to hit my radar, and so far that has been the case. So that's like a measure of self-care that I'm taking while still actively like getting really involved in my community here in the ways that I can, whether that's like, with people that I don't know in my neighborhood, or more to what I do is like, I really check in on the people. And I'm very lucky to have so many people in my like physical brick and mortar life that are like, not just like close to me emotionally and like the nearest and dearest people in my life. I have a very full life in that way, but they're very close in proximity too. So I'm very fortunate in that way. So these are people who I'm checking in on, and people who I'm like, taking out to dinner and like talking to, in all of the various ways that you need to uplift each other and help each other, and all of the various different ways that you can pitch in beyond just like your immediate local life. So like, we gotta be present in order to challenge Jimmy and the Beast Games, like the only way to not go deeper into the Beast Games, Matt, is to I would say like is to like counter program the Beast Games, basically. Counter program it, like 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 there are some ways in which you have no ability but to participate in the beat games, but resist it as much as you can and come up with your own games and like push that forward and work on that with other people. And let's see what kind of reality show we see on the other side of that. That's my political today. How's that? Is that okay?
That's
Again, pieces of myself
a little too political, Josh. Come on. I thought that was amazing.
I mostly keep offline because like I could get really fucking worked up about it, and like it's not good for me to do that into a microphone. It's like for me, for my brain and like my space, it's not good for me to it doesn't. It's not super compatible with me, and like
it's not helpful for anyone.
Like in a loud way. It is for some. It is for some.
Well, I think it's helpful to the point of like hearing someone say the thing that you're thinking at times and to resonate with you. But we also need to get past that zone of just being in the place of being like, of just complaining, which happens so often, or just like feeling the pain. Like there's so much more to us than just the pain or just the problems. And like in my work full time, where I do so many different talks and workshops and interviews and all of that stuff. Like I often talk about how there are some, when you look, I work in the climate change world, and people often, the narratives are often about like, and rightfully so, but like often about like victimhood and the problems, especially when it comes to like Black and brown communities, so on and so forth. But like the other thing I bring up is that people are more than just victims. They're also survivors. No pun intended.
Sure, no, of course.
And also heroes. Like people are so capable.
And healers and hustlers.
And healers and hustlers. Yes!
And villains.
And villains too. That too. Sometimes, you know, it happens. But I think like getting past the limited narratives of like what we are, what could be, of what we are and what we could be is important. One reason I love Pod Friends is that you just kind of see like a bunch of the sides of people, and that people are not one-dimensional, you don't need to be one-dimensional. You could be all of the different things that you are. Like you don't need to choose a sliver of that because you don't think it's okay to show up as whatever it is that you are. And I feel like the people who listen to these like get that and appreciate that. And it's like it's important to find your people right now more than ever, to your point, and to embrace them. And you're awesome people.
I think like find your people, and like, you know, I think like any time is a good time to be judicious about who is in your life and like the people that you're engaging with, and who are you giving more time to than other people. And like if that's not feeling good, to correct that. I think like it's a really important time to evaluate your energy, and like Emily always says to me when I'm in like my severe moments of panic, or like just like really struggling hard, that you got to put the mask on yourself first. You know, there's a reason 100%. Why that's the instruction, and I've come to really believe that. And so like whatever that means for you, if that means like you know, you're not going to go and participate in this activity that you participated in for a long time. You've decided that your season with a certain, you know, select people or whatever is over, or at least is not. It's a change of season, song of the winter. You know, whatever that is for you. I think it's really good just to I think constantly just like being like present with where you are. You know, and like so much of the past is what dictates the future. But I think that I have historically been a person as like a person with like fairly severe anxiety. I am somebody with like some severe anxiety, and like a good measure of like some agoraphobia as well. And for me, like getting out, like I can. It's so weird. We talked about this actually on round one. Like I have like no trouble like going on like a worldwide adventure. That's exciting to me. But like going to the grocery store that's literally half a block away is a challenge. Like you know, different challenges for different people. I was saying something that I was like excited to get to the point of, and I think it's gone, Matt. I think it's gone.
I was on the journey, but I feel like what you were giving or where you're going to, because something I was so curious about is like advice that you'd have. Well, the shorthand's like advice you have for your younger self, but also just like what you've learned along the journey. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
sort of what you were talking about a bit, which is just like,
Figuring out, yes,
yeah.
past informing future, basically. And like historically, I've been somebody who's like dwelled so much on the past, and like to your point, on the other side of the elevator ride, like I'm constantly or the escalator ride, I believe it was an escalator.
Yes, thank you.
So sorry. When you're down the escalator and you're off the escalator and you just think about, oh God, no. I do this thing where I think back on like cringy moments. I'm often in the shower. These often dominate my shower thoughts, are like the cringy behavior of the past. And I'll like audibly groan like when I'm like thinking about it. And like it is like this like physiological reaction that I have to those memories. Past informs the future. It certainly does. And your past behavior, your past attitudes, your past relationships, your past successes, your past failures, your past informs your future inevitably. So too does your present. There is the great saying that gets adopted for so many different areas of like, the best time to do this thing was yesterday. The second best time is now. And I think that that's really true. So, it's reductive, and it is not as simple as this. It is not as easy as this, but there is like something in the idea of like, if you don't like what the future is looking like, do something about it now. To the best of your ability, in whatever way that looks, in any way that looks, whatever that seems like, sounds like, feels like, creating new boundaries, fortifying old ones, whatever that looks like for you. Taking care of yourself now is taking care of the future. So past brought you here, but you're taking yourself to the next place before you become past. So if you want to go in a place that you are excited about, drive there. Again, reductive, but not arbitrary, I think. I think that there's something in it. Yeah.
No, I agree. I feel like look, Josh, the beauty of doing it the first time, we took like 2 hours doing that the first time. We have another hour and a half where we did this the second time. And I feel like there's so much more where I'm like, yeah, we'll go with another one. Go for well, because there's so much too where I'm like, oh, there's so much more. But I feel like we're very close to the end of this conversation. There's just so much else though where I'm like, wow, Josh as an interviewer, Josh as a journalist, Josh as someone from that perspective is also so meaningful and powerful to me. But I feel like the conversation that we've had so far is such a great representation of where you are, and it's acknowledging and carrying and also honoring the past while also just being like really present in the moment now and also looking ahead to where we are now. So I'm sure we will have conversations in the future about more of those things and so much more, Josh. But I want go for it.
The good news is, Matt, you've got my number.
Of course.
And I am not available to all of you in this way, unfortunately.
3.
There's 555. I am, I am very available to you in that way.
I know.
Especially like I think on the other side of like this conversation, like these like 2 really in-depth conversations that we've now had with each other, that only one of which gets to see the light of day. I feel like
in a way.
I feel very connected to you and very close to you, and do not hesitate to knock on my door anytime.
Yeah,
and
no,
right
if
back I don't respond, it's because like I've decided like I can't talk to people today. This is my boundary. Don't take it personally.
Yeah, no,
unless you've done something that I took personally, which I can't envision right now. But if I hear those
just
sirens
cross that off the list.
If I hear the sirens again, I do think I would request that you lose my number.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you're rightfully so. I'm if I ever get that request, I'm open to it. What's on your mind? I saw you do the magic wand of the pen.
I'll just add that, like,
please,
I'm here. You know, like that's what we're talking about.
You are
right?
here.
Like, I'm present. I don't know where I'll be in the future.
You are.
I know where I've been in the past, but I am here. It is literally my job to talk to you and to talk to other people on podcasts on RHAP and to interact with the community. You know, like you won't get my phone number, but you can tag me in all of our respective ways. If you're a patron, you know, for my sins, at least right now, I'm still on Facebook. I'm looking at ways. These are like other, you know, responsibilities that I have are like ways to think about like how to grow everything at RHAP, including our community, and like what are new ways that we can engage the community, and like who is here that we don't know is here. Like I want to talk to you, and so like we're doing more and more of that. And if you've got questions for me, hit me up. I prefer like personally, I prefer like a tweet or like a Facebook post to a DM or a message is not my favorite. So like I'm here to engage. I'm here to engage. I'm excited to.
Yeah.
The welcome that I've received coming back to RHAP has been like exceedingly warm and wonderful, and I have felt really taken care of by our people, man. Like we've got such great people. Got such great people. So if any of you want to ask about interviewing stuff or journalist stuff, always happy to talk about it.
Yeah, there's so much else, but speaking of you and your story, Josh, I have to ask you, if your life were a book or documentary, what would the title be and why?
I thought about this. I thought about this, and even though I've used it previously, I think that means that I have the rights to it. So I don't mind. I'm gonna go with it was the subtitle that we gave the final official season of the Wandoff. It was called the final Wandoff was the final season of the Wandoff that occurred over the course of a podcast series, a farewell to the Wiggle Room that was called A Wiggle Through Time.
Ooh,
and I think that's what I'll call it. A Wiggle Through Time.
Oh my gosh.
Because I think I think that there's so many ways in which I am the exact same person that I've always been. Unfortunately, like before I started trolling, you know, people on podcasts, my dad he tells me, my dad and I have not always had the greatest relationship, and we've become really close in the last year, which has been lovely. I
love that.
Yeah, he like freely tells me how like terrified, like legitimately terrified of me I was, because I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing. He's like, you have like he told my brother that my father is like a genius, a certifiable genius, like intellectually, his scientific accomplishments. He is like a hero to the world that you do not know about, but he has helped in incredible ways. But that's a scary man to like live under the shadow of for so long. But he becomes a little less scary when I hear from him that he confided in my brother when my brother was a kid. He said, I think this is my father. My impression of him is going to be very Nicolas Cage. I think your brother might be a genius. And apparently the way in which I was a genius was in like aggravating people, that like no one could like get like so targetedly into like into like the trolley zone than me, specifically towards my father. So that's a talent of mine. That's a gift. So I would love to explore that in the documentary. I would love for you to see in the documentary some of my proudest musical theater moments. I think it's a shame that no one, we did not have the technology to record the 1997 production of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, in which I was Joseph. So I think it would be nice to revisit that in the feature film adaptation, of course. Just summer camp in general is like as important to my life as anything. My history there, I believe, saved my life. These are things I would like to see in the book. But I would also like to know about like what my professional life has been like, and like what my personal life has been like, in the ways in which like it's been very at times exciting and at times tragic. And I would be very curious to like in this book, Matt, I think that I would write the future, guesses, hopes, dreams, fears, a wiggle through time. I think that's what I would do.
I love that. I love that so much. And like, I love you, Josh. I'm
I love you,
thankful
Matt.
for you. And I
Thankful for
feel
you.
like but I'm thankful like that people could hear you now. So proud of you. And I just, as we wrap up, I want
I
to
gotta
give
just
you
tell
the
you again, like you
please.
really like I've been feeling like largely like pretty like grounded in my life right now. Like I'm trying really like we've been talking about to like be very present, and like I felt like I really felt like like regressing towards like a dark moment. And I'm just like, you know this firsthand, like the power of like reaching out to someone for help. And
Yeah.
like that's what I did to you, and you could not have been more generous. And like you immediately, like what was like 2 days of like a dark cloud dissipated instantly, and like revitalized me, and I haven't like let go of that since. And so you helped me in a really, really, really meaningful way to find my way towards a lighter place during a really dark time. So I appreciate you so much, Matt Scott, and I know other people feel the same.
Oh my gosh. That means the world. And I don't even I think what's so beautiful about the fact that this is recorded is that I could go back and really take that in, because I feel like I'm so bad at taking those types of things in the moment, whether it's
Okay,
like
see ya. Off the escalator.
yeah.
Bye.
I know, like, okay, great, bye.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah, perfect example. But yeah, I'm trying to get better at digesting all that. So I'm obviously like endlessly grateful and appreciative of that. And I'm thankful for the fact that I could like literally go back, and we'll go back and just take that those words in, because they do really mean a lot. And I'm thankful to be able to show up for people. Like that's something I find myself constantly saying to people, is like, it's such a gift to be able to show up for you, to help someone. Last night, not in like the bragging about ways I've helped people, but like someone like last night, just someone who's like 18 or 19 or so, in college, who I've known through work, was applying to a fellowship program that had a deadline last night. It was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I needed a recommendation in tonight. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Thank you for asking me and for thinking of me as someone who could do that for you. And like, I wrote the recommendation, sent it in. Like, we just need to be able to show up for people more. And like, if that's a ripple effect of me showing up for you, that like leads to someone else doing that for someone else, or you like showing that grace to others, great. Because I've been given that grace too. So I don't even think of it as extraordinary, but just like the way that we should all show up for each other. So I appreciate that. Anyway, uncomfortable thinking about the amazing compliments that I'm still digesting from you. I want to wrap up and give you the floor, Josh, just to close us out with any words. You could do a breathing exercise if you want. Whatever it is that feels authentic to you is what I just will say. It could be to the community, to whoever's listening, whatever it is.
I want to say sorry to Lolo for picking her up on the podcast against her will.
You're the one who's bleeding.
I earned it. I deserved it. That's okay. Sometimes you do. You know what? I've learned my lesson. I shan't pick her up again. And there's something there too. Being present with my cat who clawed me, and knowing that I'll build a better future where I won't pick her up and get clawed again.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being part of this week's episode of Pod Friends, part 1 of my season finale of Pod Friends. Part 2, more than anything, will feature you, and maybe I'll have an interview in there, who knows, but I'm gonna feature you and your voicemails. Go to speakpipe.com/podfriends to submit your voicemail. Do it. It's only 90-second voicemail. Don't overthink it. I'll be just really pumped to have you on and to be able to react live to the voicemails that you send in. And who knows, maybe I will I was gonna say, for the first time I'll cry on the podcast. Wouldn't be the first time. Anyway, thanks again to RHAP and the team behind the scenes for helping get this podcast to you. Thank you everyone for tuning in, as always. And last but not least, thank you all for being a pod friend. Thank you for being a pod friend.